Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you're having a great day. Everything is going well for you. If you're driving, hey, have a nice, safe drive. But and everyone else out there, if you're at home, at work, wherever you may be, welcome. So today on the program, our regularly scheduled guest, who is our longtime correspondent, Mr. Scott Schober. He is actually, we're talking behind the scenes, and it's looking like we are probably going to have him on Friday. So, with that being said, everyone, be sure to check that out later this week. But for now, we have computer and technology news, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a ton of different stories, articles, and things like that. And don't worry, before you start to wonder, we won't be covering the Amazon media blitz that they're doing. They had a show, and trust me, everyone is trying to get in and trying to really capture what it is that Amazon was showing off. Let me just save the trouble. They have more Amazon Echo devices, and hey, they want it everywhere and anywhere you may be. So we're probably going to discuss that in depth with Sandy Berger. She's our regular correspondent who handles digital assistants and that kind of thing. Very, very fun, but I would really prefer to have her expert opinion. And in the meantime, everyone, we can of course do computer and technology news. So everyone, before we get started, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including the show notes. It will have links to all the articles. It will have any videos that we show, any products that we talk about. Anything and everything can be found at computeramerica.com. While you're there, be sure to check out some of the other features that we have, including articles, reviews, videos, so on and so forth. Everyone, hey, thank you so much. So why don't we go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. And like I said, tons of different things to talk about here. Might as well get to it. So everyone, Computer America news. Okay, so I think that our first story, and we have a ton of different stories, like I said, and actually maybe we could lump these two together and really, maybe we could, start off with some CEO shakeups. There are two different ones that you should probably be aware of. I'm actually pretty interested in one and, of course, the other, but one I haven't heard anything about, and the other is a pretty high-profile instance. So this is coming to us from a website called Politico, and even though it is a political source, I will promise to keep this as apolitical as possible. I will say, though, that in the realm of technology, we have talked about Juul. Juul is a vaping e-cigarette. Well, not even an e-cigarette, just a vape. And it has different kinds of flavors. Teens are predominantly flocking to this product in particular. And it's been a long point of contention, or, a large point of contention that why is it that so many of Juul's social media followers and so many of its users and just so many kids who choose to vape before they are legally allowed to, why do they choose the Juul brand over others? And this has been, kind of a head scratcher. But Juul was very slow to react to this, because if you've ever run any kind of large Facebook, Twitter profile, anything like that, or any websites, some of the analytics that you're able to get, and trust me, a company like this that works predominantly with advertising and partners, they had demographics. They knew who was looking at the information that they were putting out. They knew who was being attracted to their product. And for them to sit there and, kind of scratch, just kind of say, well, who knew? Well, who knows why teens are using our product? And instead of, reacting quickly and saying, wow, we really have to change up our marketing, scheme or something like that, this article came out, and this is probably one of the last ones we'll hear about this, because these are probably the right steps that they should have taken. But they announced this morning that the CEO of the company will step down and that the company would not lobby the current administration on its looming ban of flavored vapor products. And if you've ever seen those, you can see that, they have things like fruit medley, mango, classic mint, things like that. Flavors are seen as to attract a younger audience, because obviously kids, when you have things that are like strawberry or lemon or whatever, you could kind of think of those as like, candy. And obviously adults are going to like those flavors too, but kids aren't really going to be attracted to just, straight vapor, that these vapes kind of give off. So with that being said, they're going to participate in the ban of flavored e-cigarette products. And yeah, they said that they are worried about the epidemic of teen vaping, and also said it will suspend all broadcast, print, and digital product advertising in the United States. Which, at this point, if you haven't heard of vaping, and if you haven't heard of Juul in particular, you must be living under some kind of rock. And I feel like, as a PR move, this is something that they want. They want to look like the good guys. They don't want to look at the bad guys, because the more that they look like the bad guys, for getting a younger audience addicted to nicotine, the longer that they look like the bad guys, the more politicians, state and federal level will look to to regulate and crack down on their business model. Obviously, they have a couple of people sickened and killed, and by a couple, I mean several hundred people sickened. 9 people have been killed so far due to, I think, like lung infections. Last time I checked that out, none of those were linked to any kind of official, Juul branded pods, but rather black market kind of aftermarket pods that you could buy or fill it yourself. Still, the Juul, which again is the largest e-cigarette manufacturer, is seen as kind of the main culprit, because that's the one that all the kids are getting caught in their hands with. They said that Juul did not say whether it would continue battling efforts in states and cities to curb vape sales, and it did not immediately respond to requests for comments. The manufacturer spent $4.5 million in San Francisco on a campaign to overturn the first in the nation e-cigarette ban through a November ballot initiative. So a lot, and I don't want to say a lot, a few of my friends actually do, use a vape, use an e-cigarette, and they used to smoke. They no longer do, but they do use e-cigarettes. They say that it's healthier for you. They say that's cleaner for you. Because of the different pods that you can get, you can actually wean yourself off of nicotine, and you can actually quit much easier using an e-cigarette than you could through cigarettes. And that may be true, but the big problem that we've had with e-cigarettes, and Juul in particular, is that they will claim things like it will help you quit smoking, it's better for you, there's no side effects, there's this, there's that, or the other. And the reality is, the research just hasn't been done. E-cigarettes have, gained some popularity probably in the mid-2010s. You're looking at maybe 5-6 years worth of research, and probably not very comprehensive research at that. So when they make these claims that they're safe, it's just water vapor, they're fine, that's where people are having to kind of take a step back and say, well, maybe these things aren't as safe as we were first led to believe. And of course, with the rise of Juul in schools and, among a younger population, younger and younger kids are seeing a a sharp increase in the amount of teenagers who are addicted to nicotine, which, if you've been paying attention over the past couple decades, that's something that we've really been trying to get a handle on, is the rates at which teens smoke. And by the way, the replacement for the CEO, if you didn't know, is actually being replaced by none other than said that he will. The new CEO for Juul is going to be a former tobacco company CEO. So he's worked in the field before, and honestly, I don't really see a problem with that, because obviously a CEO, and by the way, that's someone who's worked in the cigarette industry or the tobacco industry. I feel like they would know the regulations. They would know how to kind of play by the rules a little bit better than a tech person would. Tobacco is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, industries here in the United States, and there's a lot that a person needs to know to be able to, kind of operate in the field. So I see no problem with, with someone like that. And by the way, the change is longtime Altria executive Casey Crosthwaite. And he joined the tobacco giant when it was still Philip Morris in the 1990s, until recently headed its growth division. So they have a good CEO for, obviously, their industry. And I think that's an important point, is that they are no longer a tech industry. They are a tobacco industry, and they need to start acting like it. So there's our first story. Obviously, we're going to be following that more, but why don't we go ahead and move on to this other story. And this is one I had not heard about. It just happened today, so I'm sure a lot of people out there haven't either. eBay. You remember them, Little E, Big B? Well, eBay has they're going to be getting a new CEO, because the current CEO, Mr. Devin Wenig, steps down as CEO, saying that the morning eBay announced that the current CEO has stepped down from the role of CEO, a former executive at Reuters. He joined the company 8 years ago this month as president of its global marketplace division. He was appointed CEO in July 2015 following the spinoff of PayPal. A little bit of tech history for those of you who did not know. PayPal and eBay were inseparable. Like, they were the same service. PayPal was simply the payment mechanism you used to buy things on PayPal. And of course, buy things on eBay. PayPal, of course, has tried to grow and expand beyond just being about eBay, and I think they've done a very good job. But eBay itself is still a booming marketplace. So they said that the company's senior vice president and chief financial officer has been appointed interim CEO, and they said, the new interim CEO has been with the companies for 12 years, and they're going to decide another one. So the move comes amid turmoil in the company. Who knew eBay was having such a rough go of it? Saying that earlier this year, investors Elliott Management suggested key structural changes to help reinvigorate a floundering company. Today, eBay suffers from an inefficient organizational structure, wasteful spend, and a misallocation of resources. It wrote in a letter at the time. eBay went through layoffs and restructuring in the wake of the letter. So as part of these new changes, eBay will be appointing, again, an interim CEO and an interim CFO. So there you go. They've, eBay needed to do better, and it looks like they did go through some changes recently, but they're still going through them, and it looks like a new CEO is the next step in that plan. So very, very interesting. And I don't. eBay is one of those companies that, as far back as about as far back as early e-commerce can go, eBay was the biggest and stayed the biggest for a long, long time. Now, eBay has to compete against anyone else who wants to sell something online. And on top of that, they have to deal with e-commerce giants such as Amazon, which are offering a lot of different products and faster shipping and the like. I mean, eBay is just unfortunately not the first place people think of when they need to buy something, like they did years ago. And I can see how a company who started off, way far above its competitors would feel very disinterested or just not really that excited about changing its model that worked in the past, and why shouldn't it work today? There's going to be more pain. I'm hoping eBay doesn't go by the wayside, but I can perfectly see why one day it just might. So there you go. So that was story number 2. Best of luck to the CEO and see where he goes. Let's change it up just a bit. And this is from a website called Neowin. And this is one that has just taken the internet, really by storm. And it's, it's really weird. So Boston Dynamics, if you haven't seen the video, there was a video recently, and we're going to go ahead and play a little video if you're watching the video portion. But there was a robot that was doing gymnastics. It was doing flips. It was, jumping in the air and spinning, things that you would traditionally not ever expect a robot to do. And Boston Dynamics excels at that. They have these demonstrations, they have these videos. Every time they put a video out, it goes viral. People love to see it. They, they're funny. They really show something that people have not seen before. And so with that being said, they did something else people hadn't seen before. They're actually going to start selling their robots. Amazing, because obviously a company like this has been a research and development lab for a long time. They had contracts with they had contracts with the military. They had contracts with so many different organizations, and it looks like now this latest one, hey, if you have the money, they will buy you one. And of course, you can contact their sales team at any time, and you can go ahead and purchase it. And by the way, they said in no definitive price, maybe later on in the article they have it here, but the way they're saying here is that it's going to lease. So they said the early adopter program lease is going to cost less than the price of a car. And if you're wondering which other robots you are going to be purchasing, it's Spot. Yeah, that's Spot. It's the one that it kind of dog-like. There's obviously that, it's essentially a robot dog, and it's going to cost less than a car. So they said that you can probably tell it's not oriented towards consumers, but rather businesses. Additionally, even if a business has the money to splash out for Spot robots, Boston Dynamics only has a scarce number of units, so it's looking for businesses that have an interesting use case for them. Again, this really shows that it's not even so much about turning a profit and selling these things. It's more about getting their products in the hands of companies that will use them so that other people will see them and drive further interest. That's why it's a lease program. So there you go. It's for sale and lease. It has a run speed of 1.6 meters per second. I have no idea if that's fast. Meters per second. Pretty fast, Let's just say a leisurely run. Runtime will be about 90 minutes. The battery is swappable, so you can have multiple batteries if you need to take this thing to a convention or something. You should be good to go. It will have a 360-degree camera. It is IP54, which means that it is like water resistant, but not waterproof, and dust. Don't get this thing dusty, essentially, but pretty good. It can operate in all kinds of environments. It can carry about 30 pounds, and overall, very interesting. So some suggested applications for Spot might be good at including working on construction sites to inspect progress. It can be used at oil and gas fields to remotely inspect facilities and improve awareness of plant operations. And it could be used for public safety, allowing police to remotely approach a dangerous area. And obviously the video is very interesting. You should definitely go check that out. But I guess the big news here is that they are willing to now lease these things. They're willing to push them out of the lab. And so far from Boston Dynamics, that's about all we've seen. It is very interesting, very funny, very, very, uh, well, yeah, very interesting videos that you can see. So now you can actually buy one. Again, if you have, I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of like $60,000 over the life of its lease. So there you go. Let's go from robots, and let's see, we have a ton of these different stories here. Robots to match. Online dating, everyone's favorite topic. If you haven't tried online dating, lucky you. But for those of you who have, you may notice that when you do online dating, there are fake profiles. And if you're sitting there wondering, why the heck would someone make a fake profile? And a lot of times, they are for scammers. They will try to get some kind of payment information out of you. They want to steal your money. They want to have you download malware. It is essentially a phishing attack, but you kind of sign up for it when you respond to one of these fake profiles. Fake profiles are probably the biggest problem with online dating, because hey, it's it doesn't just do damage to the individual, but it does damage to the service altogether. If you had your money stolen once, you probably won't be interested in staying with the service and potentially spending money on a subscription or doing any of these other microtransactions that they may have. It's a problem. But we have this article here about Match.com and how it connected daters to fake accounts to boost subscriptions. So turning a bad thing into a good thing, although just not good for its consumers. So Match.com may have connected non-paying daters to bogus accounts just to get them to subscribe. And that's according to federal regulators. So in a lawsuit filed today against the Match Group, and by the way, if you haven't heard of the Match Group, which I actually feel like I want to look up right now, let's see. So the Match Group, you may just think like it's Match and all these other competing, services, but check this out. Match actually owns Tinder, OkCupid, and by the I'm looking up. I'm looking it up here. Let's see. So they have a little tick here. So Tinder, Match, Pairs, Meetic, whatever that is, Hinge, and of course, like I said, so many others. Like the Match Group is a lot. It is probably the largest online dating group. They said that they would connect them with fake accounts in an effort to get them to subscribe. The case hints at the murky line between genuinely helpful notifications and those that prey on people's curiosity to monetize a service. Non-paying Match users cannot view or respond to messages they receive on the service, but whenever they receive one, Match emails them to let them know, encouraging them to subscribe to see the message. You can see where this is kind of go wrong. The FTC claims that in hundreds of thousands of instances, Match.com notified daters of messages even after the company detected that the account sending the message was fraudulent. And once these people subscribed, they opened the message to see that the user had been banned or days later would be banned for on-platform fraud, and that is according to the lawsuit. When these users then complained to Match.com or tried to get their money back, they denied any wrongdoing. So like I said, fake profiles happen on every dating service. They're there to take advantage of people who are desperate or lonely or naive, and it's just not a good thing. Detection has gotten better, but it's not foolproof. They do eventually catch these profiles, and personally, I've seen a number of these fake profiles. The tactics that they employ, they're not very unique. They know that the people committing the fraud would rather just have an automated system in place, or they would rather have a script that they kind of copy and paste from. They message everyone in as many times as they possibly can. Overall, it's very predictable how they work, and I fully believe that Match.com could make an algorithm, could make some kind of detection system to take away these fake profiles. Much like Twitter, though, speaking of other forms of fake profiles, much like Twitter or Facebook or any of these other social media, they would rather have the numbers and slowly chip away at they would rather have the registered users, quote unquote, than actually get rid of all of the fake and bot profiles. So, like I said, hundreds of thousands of instances, and even though they were already banned, they never retracted the email or said you no longer have a message waiting. Rather, they let it stand and said, hey, check out this message, even though there was no message to be had. So the lawsuit also claims that these automatically generated email alerts were often withheld from paying subscribers until Match.com completed a fraud review. It's still allegedly automatically sent the advertisement emails to non-paying users, however. And like I said, they have a way to detect this. These are not super hackers who are making these fake dating profiles. And to hear that they are actually withholding the emails from paying subscribers and running that through some kind of analysis to determine if it's actually fraudulent or not, and that they did not apply that same, if nothing, level of courtesy to its potential customers, that is definitely grounds for FTC to take a look at it. So they offered a free 6-month subscription to anyone who didn't meet someone special during the first 6 months on the platform. The program came with a lengthy list of rules, including that users had to submit their photo and have it approved by Match within 7 days of purchasing their subscription. The FTC claims that between 2013 and 2016, people bought 2.5 million subscriptions, but only 32,000 received the subsequent free 6 months. Man, that's imagine being named in that lawsuit that you can't find someone special in the first 6 months or it's free. And now we have 32,000 losers. I'm kidding. You're not losers. It's a rigged system. Sorry, but it said that they said that Match.com allegedly billed 1 million people after their first 6-month package ended to extend their subscription. So as with most other services, especially online services, they were deceptively using billing practices. So Match didn't immediately respond to comment from The Verge, but however, Match.com CEO has already spoken out against the allegations internally, sending an email to executives earlier today that rejected the claims. They have a quote here: "The FTC will likely make outrageous allegations that ignore all of Match's efforts to prioritize customer experience, including our effort to combat fraud." So they say that they detect and neutralize 85% of fraudulent accounts within the first 4 hours of their existence and 95% within a day. He also argued that the accounts that the FTC defined as fraudulent are not related to scams, but rather bots, spam, and people trying to sell a service on Match.com. So, yeah, like I said, online dating, it is absolutely riddled with fake profiles and bots and the like. Bots and spam and other things that just want you to click on links that will, have you download malware. Match could do a better job of catching these, but it looks like they were purposefully kind of like neglecting it. Although I will say, from a cost-cutting standpoint, I get it. If you have to offer all of your currently paying subscribers to check for fraud, I get that. But that number goes up exponentially when you have to offer that same level of service to everyone who has ever signed up, even for free. At that point, even free people cost you money. So everyone, stay tuned. We'll be right back. More Computer America right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour. Everyone out there, if you missed any part of today's show so far, feel free to check out the podcast. It is today's show in its entirety rebroadcast as a podcast. So wherever you listen to those, we promise to be there. And if not, hey, send us a message and we will be sure to get there. But we know for a fact that we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and so many more. Everyone, welcome back into the Computer America Show. If you're just joining us, we have been and continue to do computer and technology news. Why don't we go ahead, move on from the story about Match.com and fake users. I know, cutting edge story. And how about this one? So this one is, from a privacy point of view, either a really good thing or a really bad thing. And obviously there has been some high profile news stories, kind of covering what this would look like, but it's taking privacy or the questions of privacy to a new level. Ring, yes, the makers of the video internet connected doorbell, Ring experimented with activating all nearby cameras after a 911 call. But the project is not being pursued anymore. And if I had to guess, probably had to do with either privacy concerns or, just cost. So Amazon Ring was working on a feature that would automatically activate cameras on nearby Ring doorbells so that they could begin recording and streaming video when someone called 911. And they said that these recordings could, in theory, then be used by law enforcement to help with investigations. The feature doesn't appear to be something that the company is pursuing right now, according to a Ring comment provided to CNET. So the article continues. Ring seemed to be aware of the potential privacy concerns around this automatic activation. Ring owners would have to opt in to allow nearby 911 calls to activate the cameras on their doorbells, but this feature, if it were to be implemented, could have significantly added to concerns about Ring's ability to collect data on and potentially surveil citizens. Clearly, opt-in, definitely the right move. What happens when it's no longer opt-in, but rather opt-out? And then what happens when, there is no choice? it doesn't happen. Really, this seemed like a moot kind of point because of a lot of the stories that we've heard involving Ring doorbells being used as evidence in investigations. All they have to do is go up to an individual or, to a house, an individual, knock on the door and say, hey, excuse me, we noticed that you had a video doorbell. Could you turn over the previous 2 days, 3 days, week of video and let us check to see if there is anything that we could use? And by and large, most people say, yes, of course. This isn't really a matter of getting the video, but rather getting the video in a more timely manner. And on top of that, just kind of all the video in a timely manner. So this year, Ring would come under continued press scrutiny of its partnerships with police and cities, including working with police to help them request security camera footage from customers, and some governments subsidizing the cost of Ring products to citizens. And Ring itself revealed in August that it was partnered with more than 400 law enforcement agencies across the United States. If there was ever going to be a surveillance state, this is probably how it gets started. Obviously, that takes this whole conversation to a very high hyperbolic level. I'm not saying that Ring is is a surveillance state. I'm saying that putting a camera on front of everyone's house where they can monitor what cars go by, what people go by, the people that live there, and then taking away the active participation of the purchaser of the doorbell and just saying, hey, we need to automatically get your video. We need to automatically do this, that, or the other. That becomes a real sticking point for people who are, kind of pro-privacy. So, very interesting, and I will definitely be keeping an eye on this one. I don't think that Ring is doing anything out of the ordinary or improper. Honestly, Ring is working with law enforcement, as, trust me, so many other tech companies are working with law enforcement. It's just, how do they straddle that line between, yes, we want to be a very helpful company, and we need to respect the privacy of our users. A lot of companies have done that, have done that wrong, and a lot of companies have done that right. Ring now has to kind of make that decision. So definitely be seeing where they want to take that. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead, continue on, and okay. How about a little bit of a warning for anyone out there who may be a veteran? And obviously, there are a lot of different website and services out there that promise to find veterans a place of employment. It's it was really an initiative for the previous White House administration. There has been a lot of legislation to get veterans, in a place of work so that they can continue to support themselves after they leave service. And really, it's one of those things that, America has thankfully really taken some pride in, to further employ our veterans. But as with any kind of charity, as with any kind of move like this, there will be people who are looking to take advantage of it. And that's why this little warning out there about people veterans in particular, looking to find employment, well, this is a problem. This one from Ars Technica, and they said that a threat group previously identified as being behind the attacks on IT providers in Saudi Arabia has now been spotted targeting U.S. military veterans and companies with a malicious webpage that purports to be an employment site. According to the report posted today by Cisco Talos, they mentioned that the site offers a free desktop client, which is in fact a spyware installer. And really, when you think about all the information that we put into our computers nowadays, not just your personal information, but also your banking information and so much more. So you can see where, especially those who are looking for employment, and if you've been looking for a job lately, you have to provide a lot of different detail, including social security numbers, names, addresses, so on and so forth. And I can only imagine for a veteran, they would have a lot more information, including, some kind of accounts and proof that you are indeed a veteran. That would be very attractive to hackers. So Symantec identified the group in a threat intelligence post earlier this month called Tortoiseshell. The group has been connected with attacks on 11 different companies, the majority of which are located in Saudi Arabia. And all the attacks use the same remote access tool, which is named Backdoor Syskit by Symantec, coded in both Delphi and Microsoft.NET architecture. So a very similar backdoor is part of a package dropped by a website discovered by Talos, HireMilitaryHeroes.com. So by the way, it's still live, and the site has no content other than 3 links to try our desktop app for free. So to be very clear, I just said the name. I'm not going to say again. Hopefully you've already forgotten it. But if you see it, do not go there, because it is simply a portal to get you to download malware. So the app is a fake installer, which, when the malware installation is complete, displays an error message that claims your security solution is terminating connections to our servers. So while it's running, the installer checks to see if it can reach Google, a measure to check to see if it's being run in a security sandbox. Because obviously, if you can't reach Google, then it knows that it's not connected to the World Wide Web in general. But so obviously it checks before it does anything to make sure that it can reach other servers. So it will shut itself down. But if it connects, it downloads 2 files from servers hosted by a company in Atlanta, a reconnaissance tool, and the backdoor. If something fails during the download, the installer sends an email to a Gmail address from another Gmail address, the credentials for which are hard-coded into the installer. So that's pretty interesting. It will actually send an email saying, hey, this computer did not install the malware correctly. It's pretty interesting. So the reconnaissance tool with the file name bird.exe is internally named Ladder C, a mythical being from Hungarian folklore that evolves from a chicken into a succubus. Who knew? And actually a little poetic. It performs a thorough collection of data about the system that it's installed on, including date, time, install drivers, patch level, network configuration, domain controller, name of the administration account, and a list of all other accounts available. It will then also check the screen size via Windows Management, and all that data is being pushed back to the attacker, and it can be used to craft attacks. Essentially, just collecting enough data that they can target your computer in particular. So the backdoor, which is also installed, can execute commands in the infected system, upload and download files, use PowerShell to unzip and execute downloaded code, and then, when commanded, uninstall and remove itself. Very interesting. The backdoor doesn't work without the installer, as it receives the IP address from the command and control server, and a measure likely taken to prevent malware investigators from discovering the server. So interesting. So, everything is kind of, there's a lot here that's hard-coded. It's, I don't want to say it's very simplistic, because it's actually pretty complicated, but at the same time, it's just simple enough that it won't hurt. Well, it will do the job, and on top of that, it won't be compromised. So check that out. So there's that story. Again, fake veteran hiring website of all people to target. Just awful. that they would go after these particular people. Now, let's go ahead and continue on here. How about we talk about, we have time for about 2 or 3 more stories. If we are going to, let's see. Okay. How about we talk about, no, that's bad. Do we have any good stories? Any good stories? Good. All right, so these aren't bad. Facebook, obviously, they still operate. Who knew? Oculus, and they're still looking into augmented reality. One of the announcements today that they have, and you can see here on the video portion, we're going to go ahead and play it. Is that they are looking at creating live augmented reality maps. It's pretty interesting. So Facebook is mapping the planet to create a foundation for its augmented reality glasses. Seems like an easy task, doesn't it? Facebook is actively developing augmented reality glasses with plans to completely recreate the planet in a 3D map, allowing users to live in enhanced interactive spaces. That's right, Facebook is building a new virtual reality that lays directly on top of the physical world. So designed to be accessed as often as we look at our smartphones today, Facebook Reality Labs is building live maps. That's the product that they're calling it the core infrastructure that will underpin tomorrow's AR experience. Live Maps generates a shared virtual map that mirrors the physical world using machine vision, localization, and crowdsourced mapping technology. Facebook will use the oodles of data that it collects from 2.4 billion users. Think about that, 2.4 billion users to build live maps, pulling geotag images to generate point clouds and create precise virtual globe. Really, that's what it's about. This is what Facebook is able to do with that much data that they collect from people. And, when you wonder, well, isn't Facebook just after what I'm looking at so that it can serve me advertising? No. Facebook is also there to monitor where you go, when you go, and if you take photos, where did you take those photos, and what does it look like at the moment right there? If they know that something, if there's a hill in the area, because so many people have taken a picture of the hill, or they walk up and down, and that's what their geolocation says, that they're doing, then they can create a very detailed and accurate 3D map of the object. And of course, once you have that 3D map that just perfectly overlays the real world, and hopefully, I'm sure, anywhere where people are who are using these kinds of technology, it will be able to update itself in real time. But hey, they will be able to serve augmented reality information to the user. So in Facebook's vision for AR, headsets and glasses will tap into these previously generated 3D maps rather than reconstructing the user's actual surroundings in real time. This enables virtual teleportation capabilities and allows the assistance technology to provide information about nearby objects and locales. If you're wondering what that looks like, they have an image, a product image here, where they have a couple of people looking at a billboard, or I should say a marquee for a movie theater, and the movies would show it just has kind of like the basic movies, but then you would look at a particular movie title on the board, and up would pop showtimes, ratings, it would also show things like reviews, just all the information that you would normally get through, let's say, a Google search, or, any other kind of information online you would want about the movie would automatically pop up in real time, in real life, on the billboard. Not just suspiciously floating in front of you, but overlaid on your actual surroundings. So live maps and Facebook AR goals are still years away from becoming a mainstream product, but the work is beginning now, and the company certainly has the data to back up the new creation. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I'm hoping that Facebook uses this for good. I'm hoping that the products are, I'm hoping that they work very, very well. There's a possibility that this does not go well, and with Facebook, probably more possible than not. But yeah, we'll certainly see. Okay, so there's that one, and then the other one. How about we talk about real quick? Okay. Just because it's very related, Oculus is, owned by Facebook, and looks like they have a new Oculus, they have a new Oculus concept headset, and it has electronic varifocal lenses. They said that Facebook might have plenty to share about its immediate VR future, at the Oculus Connect 6, but it's looking even further ahead. Facebook's Reality Lab chief scientist discussed 2 newer versions of the half-dome prototype Facebook revealed last year, which uses moving lenses to sharpen focus. Very interesting, because obviously not everyone is able to use a VR, very effectively. And actually, if you're watching the video portion, they have kind of a demonstration here where you can actually, if you're bringing something in virtual reality closer to your face, the text will actually get clearer the closer it is to your virtual face. So the advancements Facebook made with Half Dome 3 seem much more substantial. The varifocal system in the headset ditches the moving mechanical parts for an electronic version, which is a big contributing factor in making the Half Dome 3 even smaller than some of the other prototypes, while eliminating the noise and vibrations. It packs in a new type of liquid crystal lens made from thin alternating stacks of 2 flat optical displays. And let's see, so with 6 liquid crystal lenses, the system can cycle through 64 focal planes, and for smooth transition between focal depths. And when a lens is off, it's focused on a distant object, i.e. the plant in the GIF below. But when it's on, it denotes, in this case, by appearing in orange, it's focusing on a closer object, which is the dinosaur, which, if you're watching the video portion again, very interesting way that they can kind of show that by stacking 6 layers of these liquid crystal displays, they're able to get this kind of pseudo non-mechanical, all software driven zoom function by essentially saying that, hey, if something's out of focus, you can bring it into focus by essentially putting it on one of the other planes of the LCDs. So ultimately, they expect these advancements could make it more comfortable for people to spend more time in VR, potentially opening the door to a virtual collaborative workspace that could stay in for hours at a time. And they said that they have the ability to interact with real surroundings and use a keyboard and mouse to share the virtual space with other people, and to manipulate both real and virtual objects with your hands, complete with haptic feedback. And of course, haptic feedback, it's one thing to manipulate an object in virtual reality. It's another thing for that virtual object to have actual real world presence. That's what haptic feedback is. Since these are just prototype headsets and the work's in the research stage, the vision is in some way off, so don't expect to spend all day in VR anytime soon. Well, unless your boss is a sadist. There you go. Very, very interesting. And again, it just shows that Oculus is showing that Oculus, the AR and the VR parts of this business aren't taking a complete backseat. They may not be at the forefront of what Facebook is doing, but they are continuing their research, and they're hoping to bring something very interesting to market. Okay, so we have time for just one more story. How about we talk about good news. We'll end off with some good news, and this one coming to us from CNN Business. Here it is. CNN Business saying that the world's largest offshore wind farm is nearly complete, and it will power about 1 million homes. This is in none other than London. saying that the world's largest offshore wind farm is taking shape off the east coast of Britain, a landmark project that demonstrates one of the ways to combat climate change at scale. Located about 75 miles off the coast, they said that Hornsea 1 will produce enough energy to supply 1 million UK homes with clean energy, which is to be completed in 2020. The project spans an area that is bigger than the Maldives or Malta and is located farther out to sea than any other wind farm, out there. It consists of 174 7-megawatt wind turbines that are each 100 meters tall. That's about 330 feet tall. These things are massive. The blades have a circumference of about 75 meters and cover an area bigger than London Eye's observational wheel as they turn. They said that just a single rotation of one of the turbines can power the average home for an entire day. And obviously, when you think about these things, they don't spin super, super fast, but they do spin continuously. The project will take the United Kingdom closer to hitting its target of deriving a third of the country's electricity from offshore wind farm by 2030. And I think that's about as far as we want to take it. Obviously, it's, again, done by the Hornsea Company. They've built 25 offshore wind farms before, and they said that they could provide electricity to more than 2 million homes with further production of the wind farms. There are now 37 offshore wind farms operating in the United Kingdom. That makes Britain the biggest offshore wind market in the world. It's actually very interesting, and really hope for the best and hope for more of these offshore wind farms because it seems like such a great way to generate electricity, out of sight, out of mind, but at the same time not producing any kind of harmful emissions. Okay, so some of the other articles that we did not get to. Sprint, them. They, Sprint, T-Mobile, what have you. Sprint took FCC cash for serving 885,000 people that it wasn't actually serving. That's right. And according to the company, they admit it was a mistake and they promised to pay the money back, but the FCC will still investigate them for, fraud, I guess. So they said that 1 month's worth of $9.25 payments for each of the 885 subscribers equals out to about $8.2 million that the FCC paid out. So they've, and as the article says, they've illegally obtained about tens of millions of dollars that should have gone to our lowest income communities. The 30-day limit and 15-day notice requirements were imposed by the FCC. We're under investigation, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, Sprint, they said that it was an error in our accounting. We didn't mean to. We'll pay it back. But the FCC is still, still looking at this. And, of course, this comes in the wake of, just before Sprint and T-Mobile are looking to merge, and one of the problems is that reduced competition is going to hurt the underserved and, poor minority communities. Again, it's just one more kind of detail to kind of put out there and say, well, consumers are going to be okay with this merger, but then you look at this and say, well, even before this merger, you had, kind of a little bit of redundancy. The poor communities are currently still being robbed from. So we talked on the show about how I feel about the Sprint T-Mobile merger. I don't see how going from 4 different providers to 3 really makes competition better, and I have a hard time seeing how even 4 is an acceptable number, let alone 3. So everyone, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the program. The music in the background means that we're just about done. Everyone, hey, thank you so much. If you want to check us out, computeramerica.com. Again, we'll have everything from reviews, articles, past shows, future shows, all that kind of thing, video shows, podcasts, and more. Check us out. Find us on social media at Computer America, wherever you happen to participate. We'd love to see you there. And hey, reach out, send us a message, talk with us, and be sure to tune in tomorrow, where if all things go as planned, we should have the one, the only Marcel Gagnier joining us here tomorrow. Everyone, until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.